Welcome to this unidentified channel. Today we are going to talk about what happened to Mark Means and the order that the judge signed kicking him off the case. And we are starting right now. Have you read the 17-page court document that says Mark Means is no longer the representing attorney for Lori Vallow? It says it's a memorandum decision and order disqualifying counsel. So as of right now, January the 6th, 2022, Mark Means is no longer representing Lori Vallow. I have read the first 8 or 9 pages of this order, and then I just stopped and thought, why am I going to read it when I'm going to read it with you all? So I just stopped and thought we could all read it together. I don't know what all it says, but there are things in this document that we haven't heard before. There are things we didn't know, and we're going to go over them, so let's go. This order is for case number CR22-21-1624. Memorandum, Decision, and Order Disqualifying Counsel. Introduction. On July the 27th, 2021, plaintiff's state of Idaho, the state, filed a motion objecting to the entry of Mr. Means as counsel for defendant Lori Vallow Daybell, and requested this court to conduct an inquiry into whether Mr. Means had a non-waivable conflict to deny the entry of Mr. Means as counsel in the case and to appoint capital counsel for Vallow. To support its motion, the state filed a memorandum including 3 exhibits and an excerpt of sealed findings of fact entered in case CR22-20-838. Afterward, the court heard the parties in a closed hearing on September the 8th, 2021, where the state submitted Exhibit 4. An audio file of an April 28, 2020 recorded jail call between Vallow and Daybell for in-camera review. Now, I'm coming off the script now, and in-camera review, I looked it up because I didn't know what it meant, and it just means when the judge is behind closed doors or in chambers or it's in private. It's not for the public to see. So when the document says in camera, it's not something the public has seen. Therefore, the court determined an inquiry was necessary to assist the court in determining the merits of the state's contentions that Mr. Means' ability to adequately represent his client were compromised due to the alleged conflict. As a result, on October the 8th, 2021, the court conducted an in-camera inquiry with Vallow's co-defendant, Chad Guy Daybell, to ascertain whether Mr. Means had ever represented Daybell such that purported representation rose to the level of an actual conflict and whether the conflict was waivable or non-waivable. Daybell is currently represented by attorney John Pryor in case CR22-21-1623, who was present with Daybell during the inquiry. Having considered all of the submitted briefing in both Fremont County case numbers CR22-21-1623 and CR22-21-1624, as well as the findings of fact and conclusions of law entered by the magistrate in case number CR22-20-838, where this issue previously arose, and having heard the parties in multiple hearings address the concerns raised by the state, the court orders now as follows. Factual and procedural background. At the outset, this court has considered and reviewed the findings of fact entered by the magistrate on July the 31st, 2020, in case CR 22-20-838, and determined those findings to be accurate. As those findings were made in a sealed document, and the court having found that good cause exists to disseminate portions of that document in consideration of this decision, the magistrate's findings are included herein verbatim as follows. Findings of fact. A. Lori and Chad were married on November the 5th, 2019. B. At the time of their marriage, Lori Vallow had two minor children, Joshua J.J. Vallow and Tylee Ryan. C. On February 20th, 2020, Lori was arrested in Hawaii with 2 counts of felony desertion of a child, as well as misdemeanor charges of resisting and obstructing an officer, solicitation of a crime, and contempt of court under Madison County jurisdiction. D. Rexburg law enforcement took Lori into custody on March the 4th, 2020, and she was extradited from Hawaii to Idaho. E. Lori retained Mr. Means. The exact date is unknown. How is that? How do we not know the exact date? F. On March the 21st, 2020, Chad retained Mr. Pryor, who works in the same building complex as Mr. Means. G. On March the 24th, 2020, according to Mr. Pryor, or March 31st, 2020, according to the document submitted, Lori and Chad signed a conflict of interest waiver. H. On April the 28th, 2020, Mr. Means posted the following on Twitter. Please note that this office represents Mr. Chad Daybell. If any agency, investigative authority, etc. wishes to contact my client, please contact my office directly. I. On April the 28th, 2020, same date, Mr. Means sent a press release stating the following. Please take notice that this office represents Mr. Chad Daybell. Please direct all requests for communications statements of the like to this office. J. On April the 28th, 2020, same date, Lori and Chad had a visit via telephone tablet in the Madison County Jail. During this conversation, Chad stated, Mark is my attorney. Chad alluded he had shared confidential information with Mr. Means that Chad believed would be covered by attorney-client privilege. The video recording also suggested that Chad believed he would not have to testify against Lori if Mr. Means represented them both. K. On May the 2nd, 2020, Mr. Means told the court during a bail reduction hearing in Madison County for Lori that he represented both Lori and Chad. And I'll see if I can find that clip and put it here so we can see it. L. On June the 9th, 2020, a search warrant was executed on Chad's property. M. During the search, Chad called Mr. Means before calling Mr. Pryor. That's new information. We didn't know that before. N. Based on the findings from the search warrant, On June 10th, 2020, Chad was charged with 2 counts of felony destruction, alteration, or concealment of evidence under Idaho Code 18-2603. These charges were amended on June 30th, 2020 to include 2 felony counts of conspiracy to destroy, alter, or conceal evidence. Lori was listed in the criminal complaint as a co-conspirator. O. Lori was charged with 2 felony counts of conspiracy to destroy, alter, or conceal evidence on June the 29th, 2020. Chad was listed in the criminal complaint as a co-conspirator. This court has made additional inquiries and reviewed facts set forth in the record in this case since the time of the magistrate's findings, and therefore, in addition to the magistrate's findings, considers the following. On February the 20th, 2020, Vallow was arrested and charged with 2 counts of felony desertion of a child and several misdemeanors in connection with the disappearance of Vallow's 2 minor children, Tylee Ryan and J.J. Vallow. Initially, Vallow was represented by Sean Bartholick. However, Bartholick notified the state that in the event Vallow was charged with a crime, he would not represent her. Sometime in late February or early March, Chad Daybell retained Mr. Means and paid a sum of money to him to represent his wife. So he's not in custody yet. She is. We don't know how much money he paid, but he paid a retainer and then he paid Mark Means to represent Lori. Mr. Means entered his appearance as Lori's counsel on March the 4th, 2020, in case CR 33-30-302. As co-counsel with 2 other attorneys who no longer represent Vallow. Later that month, on March 21st, 2020, Attorney John Pryor began representing Daybell. Okay, March 21st. So March 4th, Lori and Mark Means. March 21st, Chad and John Pryor. All right, I'm not even sure where I'm at in this reading, but somewhere on page 4, and there are 17 pages, and I have like 6 minutes left to record. That's all the space I have, I guess. So what I'm gonna do, I guess, is just separate it all out as much as I can, so that the entire reading's out there, but it may be on several videos, and sorry, that's all I can do, but I do want to read it, and maybe I will make a condensed version. For the ones of you that don't want to hear the entire document, maybe I'll make a quick version of it. But I'm gonna record a little bit more reading because I do have like 5 minutes left. So let's jump back into that. Yeah, these dates are very important. Mr. Pryor previously confirmed that representation date to Magistrate Judge Edens, although no written notice of appearance had been filed as of that date by Mr. Pryor because Daybell had no case pending against him at that time. Subsequent to Mr. Means entering his appearance establishing his representation of Vallow, and also after the date Mr. Pryor indicated he represented Daybell on April 28th, 2020. Mr. Means communicated to the public through social media that he represented Chad Daybell. The communication states, "Please note that this office represents Mr. Chad Daybell. If any agency, investigative authority, etc., wishes to contact my client, please contact my office directly." The message originated from Mark Means Law, and neither the content nor the source of the communication has been disputed. Further, Mr. Means emailed Prosecutor Rob Wood asking him to provide a press release stating that Mr. Means represented Chad Daybell, and to direct investigation efforts relating to Daybell or Vallow to him. Mr. Means also published a press release directly. In its in-camera inquiry, the court also reviewed a phone call recorded from the Madison County Jail. The call demonstrates that on April the 28th, 2020, Daybell and Vallow spoke to one another while Vallow was in custody. During the phone call, Daybell indicated that Mr. Means was Daybell's attorney, and Daybell also knew that Mr. Means was concurrently Vallow's attorney. All right, we're going to end here because I'm all out of space, but thanks for joining me reading through this hellacious document about the hellacious one and only Mark Means. Stay tuned, or be checking for the next one, or go ahead and click on the next one. I will link the next one right here as soon as it's ready, so just be on the lookout. Thank you guys for joining me. If you haven't already, let me know where you're watching from, and I will see you next time. All right. One more time. Here we go. On April the 28th, 2020, Daybell and Vallow spoke to one another while Vallow...
This is a reminder. Take out the garbage. Second reminder.
All right. And if you haven't already, at the let me figure out where I was. Mr. Pryor in case A. So, communication statements of Mr. Pryor previously confirmed that representation date. An in-camera inquiry had a visit. What did I miss? I missed I. All right. To the magistrate. Okay. We're going to go over. What's today? Okay. So, we'll start here. To Magistrate Judge Edens, that Mr. Means represented Vallow at that time is also clear.
Mom?
Yeah. Bye.